All right. Recently I did an analysis of the A section of Elise by Beethoven, and then after that I did analysis of the B part as well. Remember, this is a 5-part rondo, which means that it will go A section, B section, repeat of A section. Then there'll be a C part or a third section, C section, and then it will go back to the A section to finish. And what else to say about this? It's different than the Baroque ritornelli forms because although that does have a returning theme, those themes tend to be altered, modified, or developed or stated in a different key when it returns. And so Rondo will just have straight reiterations of the A part again and again and again, although they don't have the repeats necessarily in them like this one. Usually when we get to the third part, like the C part, we go A, B, and then A, and then C. C is setting up the return or the final return of the A. And a lot of times it's in the dominant key so that when it finishes on its one chord, then it sets itself up as the 5 to take us back. So it wouldn't be uncommon to find, since this is an A minor, that when we get to the C part here, that this would be in the key of E. So that when it's done, it can be E minor or E major, doesn't matter, but when it gets done, it would be on this chord right here. It would change from that or this to the dominant form, and it would be sort of an open-ended or continuous last part, and then it would put us back into the A minor in this case. Beethoven doesn't do that though in this. He just finishes, this very iconic thing where it's like from here, right? And he goes through the whole thing, right? But when he finishes here, he just immediately goes into an A pedal, right here, like that. And it's like he's just saying pedals are not uncommon all the way back to the Baroque. Often in this case, it would be the dominant pedal, which would be saying we're at the end of the piece. Usually the tonic pedal would be at the beginning of the piece. In this case, he just says, look, we're all about going back to A minor, and so let's just get this out of the way. This is not a separate section on its own that says I'm a different piece, and then after we get done with me, then you can go back and do A again. This is, look, we're going to use this to transition back or transition, to the last part again. It's more like an interlude with direction rather than a piece on its own. It does have a sort of theme about it, but that A underpinning the entire time is just saying, look, we're just pedaling out the A, right? We're just going to go around a bit and then we're going to do this again. It undercuts the tonality of what might be here. So the choices here, since it's not going to be E dominant, like the dominant, remember if we're in the key of, I think I'll do this in red, if we're in the key of A minor to begin with, then C major is a possibility, right? And then we could go 1 flat, D minor, and F major. And then of course we could go E minor and G major. And we already saw that the first section was in both of these right there, right? This one is gonna fake us out into thinking it's here, but it will actually be here, and I'll show you how that works. So to begin with, we have an A pedal suggesting that this is gonna be either taking us back or anticipating the A that's gonna be the last section, of course. And here we have a C sharp diminished 7, which is 7 diminished 7 of D, which is right there. We have a D minor right here as well. And you'd think, aha, he's telling us that we're going to be in D minor. And it does feel that way. He's having his cake and eating it too a little bit, right? Because as soon as he gets done that and he pedals into here, we get a G sharp diminished 7 chord, which is the 7 diminished of A, which does there. So over this pedal of the A, there you get this, right? And then it goes into this right here, right? So are we in D minor or are we in A minor? And the answer is maybe Yes. But as we look at the actual cadence that's coming up here, which is right here, okay, actually right here's our cadence, that will tell us what key we should really interpret things in. So let's just have a look here for a minute. This is an E with an A and a C and an A, and then this is just an arpeggiation. So this is an A minor chord here, and it's in 6/4 position, so we're going to hear that like a 1-6-4, right? And then it goes into the E, G sharp, and then the rest of the E chord right here. So this is like my 5/7. So this whole section right here should be heard of as a 5 chord, right? And it's 5 of A minor, which is right there. Okay, that being said, now we can probably interpret some of this a little differently. You can probably think of this as a 7. Oh, right, this is red maybe, so it's easier to see. You can think of this as a 7 diminished 7 of 4, which is the D minor, right? Going to 4. We won't worry about inversions because of the A pedal. Kind of ruins that in our ear, which then goes to a 7 diminished of A and going to the 1, like that right there. Okay, and then it does it again, sort of here. We have another D minor chord here, so there's my 4, right? And has this interesting chord right here. If we look at it separately, it looks like, you know, this sort of F sharp, A, C. But if you add the D sharp below, then you realize that this is a D sharp diminished 7, right? It's in inversion. The pedal's gone away for the second half, right? Well, I guess it's not an inversion, sorry, but the pedal is in the inside voice here. So this becomes 7 diminished 7 of 5, because D sharp goes to E, and this is all considered to be like an E chord because of the inversion right there. So yeah, so he gives us this A pedal, makes us think maybe we're going to be in D with this A pedal, but then you can see the cadences is setting up for A minor. So we go backwards, 5 of 5. This is a 1-6-4-5-7, so it's essentially a 5. This is my 4 again, 1, 7, 4 with the 7 of 7 right there, or 7 of 4 right there. And he sets up an expectation to do that again, because he starts off again right here with my C sharp diminished 7. It's the same here, it sounds the same. So you can think of this as a C diminished 7 of 4, right? And there's my 4 right there. But this time, instead of going into a 7 diminished chord, he just gives us the top notes right here, right? And leaves the pedal on. So all of a sudden, this here is a D minor over the A, right? So it's like a 4-6-4, which you can think of as a pedal chord. It's kind of a sub for A minor. Whenever you see these kind of things, I know it's a D chord, and we've just heard the D chord here, but second inversion triads lose a lot of their identity, and they want to resolve down. We really want to hear this thing as a D minor chord like this, and then maybe it should go to like an, you know, to like that. So he's setting us up to think that this is going to be like a 1-6-4-5 and a 1 in the key of D minor. You know, like it's like, hey, we're in D minor. No, we're not. And it's like, hey, we're in D minor. Here's my cadence. But then he changes this into a B flat chord. And here's where he gets kind of funny. You should be like, what's going on with that? Okay. Remember to think we're still in the key of A, because the cadence is going to end up on A. But you can also think of it like he's setting up or intimating in our ears we're going to have a cadence in D minor. If that's the case, if you're thinking in D minor, then this is a 6 chord, and that's a deceptive cadence. Or if you're thinking in the key of A minor, then this here is the Neapolitan chord, except it's in root position, right? And that's actually important because he's setting us up predominant, and then he's going to go dominant into his cadence here at the end of the section, right? So he's having his cake both ways. He's setting us up to think maybe this time for sure we're going to get a D minor, and then he goes to 6, so deceptive. At the same time, this is going to equal Neapolitan in A minor, right? And then we go to an E flat chord. And if you think we're in the key of Neapolitan for a minute, then this is just 4 of Neapolitan. Okay, 4, 6, 4 of Neapolitan. And in some ways, you can just think of this again as pedal chord for the Neapolitan, because the B flat's in root position here, and then it goes to being second version here, and then back again, right? So he's doing this neighbor chord or pedal chord idea again. This is my Neapolitan back there. That's nothing. And then here, this is B, D, F, and then a G sharp. So when you figure it out, it's G sharp diminished 7, which is the 7 diminished. We don't have a pedal anymore because it's gone up, so we can actually call this 6/5, but of A minor, which is 1, right there. And then just over the page, there's an E chord, which would be my 5, right? Which is my half cadence to push me into my next key, which is where we talked about at the beginning. He doesn't start in that key, but he engineers it so that he has a half cadence after being in A minor. And so that sets him up to push there. Okay, so 2 phrases, right? From here to there and from here to here. The first one is telling us all the time. It's like if you thought we were different, you can point back and say, but this A pedal, right? And then also the 7 of 4, then the 7/1, and then here's my 4 again, but then this becomes 7 of 5, going to a 1, 6, 4, 5, 7, 1. Repeat again. Instead, though, it gives us a 4, 6, 4, which you can think of as a pseudo 1, or you can think of it like he's setting up a cadence. Depends on how you want to hear it. I don't know, like when we play from here, we set this up, right, to here. Does that sound like more D minor to you? If it does, then you're thinking the key of D minor, and then this is my deceptive, right there, right? But he's still playing it theoretically the other way too, because he's going to the 4 pedal, like the 4 of Neapolitan in inversion, right? And then back to the Neapolitan, which then you recognize as the Neapolitan because in A minor, because then we hit toward dominant, right? And then over the page would be, right? And then, what does he do? He does the, I don't know, cheapest stuff, transitions. There's my half cadence right there. There's my 5 chord, right? And this is my 1. And we're in A minor. And all he does is A minors, like this is my arpeggiation. And then this is my scale. And he doesn't even give us the full-on beauty of like a 5 chord, because although this would be the top of my 5 chord, he just sticks a 1 chord right there as well. And he'll do this once, twice, 3 times, and on the 3rd time, he'll just do this long chromatic scale all the way down. And, you know, it's, what can I say about this? Comparative to other Beethoven, it's simple and even simple to play. And so a lot of times this song gets criticized, maybe. It certainly isn't appropriate if you're going in as a college level pianist for, trying to get into a good school and auditioning. Because it's a little too simple, and the technique required is also maybe a little too light to be competitive. But, we get to hear, and it's like on the previous page we're like, and then here. But it's still charming and effective just to go like, oops, wrong key. And then these pedals, right? And then just this. And then we're back, right? So sometimes the simplest answer is the best one. I think to do anything more than this would unbalance the piece. Clearly, he's been all about this main piece that he did here, the one that we all know of when we think of this piece. And there's no alterations. He just plays through the whole thing again without repeats and ends up at the end with just a, you know, a quick little cadence right there like that, right? So when he gets to there, he goes here, right? And just this. And he relies on your skill as a pianist to diminish and retard, maybe apply pedal if you have it to give a satisfactory clue that we're ending, and then just be done. All right, well, I hope that's useful for you. I'll put a link to the other videos in case you're curious about A and then the B as well. And I think at the beginning of the first video, I also talk about forms of rondos in general. So, all right.